I will try to recall that verse that I recited from Shantideva, where he says that by relying on this boat of human life, one crosses the ocean of suffering. And it's difficult to find this boat again, meaning it's difficult to find this human life again. Therefore, you ignorant, this is not the time to sleep. That's a quotation, it's a very powerful quotation from Shantideva. One, he says, this human life is like a boat. If you want to cross an ocean, you need a boat. So similarly, if you want to cross the ocean of suffering, you need this human life, meaning this human life is very useful, right? Then also the example clearly shows that once you have crossed the ocean, you are not dependent very much on the boat. You don't carry the boat even when you have crossed the ocean. So once you have transcended suffering, then you don't carry this load. The ordinary psychophysical aggregate is basically a load, a burden. Burden is a load. The burden we have to carry. It's a burden in the sense because it's because of this psychophysical aggregate that you need to do so many things to look after this psychophysical aggregate, the demands of the psychophysical aggregate. And Shantideva, elsewhere he says, that means, now since you have been feeding this body, this psychophysical aggregate so much, you work, you earn money, you clothe it, you feed it, you're giving so much wage or gift to this psychophysical aggregate. And it's commonsensical that nobody would keep on giving the wage and gift to somebody who is said to be your servant or something, but who never turns up, never does the work. So since you are looking so much after this psychophysical aggregate, now make use of it. Very wise. Make use of it. Of course, we ordinarily say, yes, I'm making use of it. I'm earning money and doing this, that. But that again happens to be for nurturing the psychophysical aggregate. Not so much about the person. So we spend whole life serving and looking after this psychophysical aggregate, but it's really difficult to see what is the essence, the product that we achieve by continuously looking after this psychophysical aggregate. So that is why with this practice of setting closely mindfulness, loosely translated, it's called setting mindfulness closely to the object. Okay? And in Pali, it is called Sati Padhana. They use two words, one Sati Padhana, another Sati Upadhana. When you use the word Sati Padhana, it's really talking about the object, the four objects, the body, the feeling, the mind, and the phenomena. Four objects on which you should place your mindfulness, on which you should maintain your insight. Okay, that is the Sati Padhana. If you use the word Sati Upadhana, then that is exactly as I've translated in English, closely establishing mindfulness. That then talks more about the process of the mind engaging into the object. So that primarily refers to a wisdom that sees the reality of the body, feeling, and so forth, and that then encourages the mind to remember it, to stay on it. To make a long story short, to make it more clear, let us try to simplify it. Why we need to talk about all these complicated things? One, as I always and repeatedly say, that we all want happiness, do not want suffering. That's from where we have to start. And the happiness also, the long-lasting one. The happiness that we are talking about must be a long-lasting one. The more, the better kind of thing. And in terms of suffering, don't want the tiniest bit, the bite of mosquito, hearing something unpleasant. Don't want anything of that sort. So that is our inborn desire, as I said yesterday also. That's not something your parents taught you, you learned from your religion. It's not so much. You are born with that slogan. I call it slogan. When we came into this world, we came with a slogan. And the first slogan was made by the child himself or herself. Immediately after the birth, whether you are a Tibetan or Chinese or American, the first thing that the child does is crying, not laughing, not smiling. Crying, that's the slogan. And with that crying, the child is basically saying, what do you think the child is saying? Do you think the child is saying, I want a lengthy discourse on Buddhism? Or Christianity or any religion? I'm pretty sure that's not the case. That really is not the case. I'm almost 100% sure. So the child is basically saying, look at this situation, how we start our life, how we have started our life. We are born in a world where we know nobody. We came naked. Forget about fashion, pretty dress. No dress at all. Then language, forget about speaking a second language. The child is yet to develop the proper language. The only language is crying. And with crying, yes, there are so many different types. Some are very piercing, it really can't let the father or mother stay, without paying attention. It's so piercing, so they have those kind of devices. But apart from that, not even properly developed language. So that crying is the slogan. And with that slogan, the child is saying, as I said, the child is not asking for any lengthy discourse on Buddhism or Christianity, Judaism, anything. But the child is asking, I'm suffering. I'm suffering. And I need somebody's love, somebody's attention. And that love and attention should be unconditional love, because I have nothing to give back, you see. That's why in Buddhism we are talking so much about showing unconditional love for everybody. That's the reason. Not only in the case of the child, even the grown-up person, honestly speaking, they really don't have much to give back. You see? They are all in a fragile, difficult, and not so good situation. Nothing much to give back. So therefore, unconditional love is necessary. Unfortunately, as we grow up, get more professional training or scholarship, second-class education or whatever, in many cases, this kind of education takes us, in many cases I'm saying, away from our real nature. So we forget the basic nature. And then we live on false ideas, false hopes, superficial, aims and objectives, misplaced trust. And with this misplaced trust and hope, we keep on running up and down. Everybody says, I'm busy. Just to see a person, you need to make an appointment and things like that. Everybody says, I'm busy. And the reality is, just to be busy is not important. The important thing is, what are you busy about? So most of the time we are busy about not really important things, busy about useless things. Right? So therefore, to come back to the main point, so we are born wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. That we have to always remember. And if you want that long-lasting happiness and peace, don't want suffering, then you need to answer this call. Be honest to your mind, to your inner call. Because you will be the one who will suffer if you do not pay attention to it. Right? So therefore, when you look a little bit deeper, you will realize, and in Buddhism it is explained in very detail, that if you want happiness, and that's what the Buddha found, the most important thing that he was doing was he saw these different kind of problems in his kingdom. Although in terms of material facilities he had, at that period of time, he had everything that he wanted. You see? He had nice palaces, he had like 4 or 5 different swimming pools with yellow flower, red flower and all those things. He's a summer palace, he's a winter palace, and he is surrounded by the most beautiful women all around, as a prince. So basically he has all those things which ordinarily we say is the source of happiness and peace. He has also those. But he saw the essentialessness of all these things. Because on the other side, he saw this almost like the ugly side of old age, sickness, death, suffering. Then he questioned, why this one is sick? Why this one is old? Why this one is dead? And then the charioteer who was taking around, he said, everybody has to go through this. There's no exception. You also have to go through this. I also have to go through this. So then, because he was a very special person, he started questioning. And how can we address this problem? Is there a cause for suffering? Is there a cause for happiness? If there is a cause for happiness, why don't we produce those causes of happiness rather than sitting, complaining, and wailing? Get up and do something. If there is a cause for suffering, then if you remove or at least reduce the causes of suffering, then the intensity of suffering will be less. So from this understanding, experiment, discovery, meditation, the first teaching that he gave us, the teaching on the Four Noble Truths. In simple word, Four Noble Truth means happiness is its cause, happiness its cause, suffering its cause. We don't want suffering, therefore find out the causes, eliminate them. We want happiness, find out the causes, cherish them, cultivate them, nurture them. You will be happier. And if you make very strong effort, it is also possible to become Buddha and be completely happy. But even in ordinary life, in our ordinary life, in today's life, it is 100% sure that if you change your perspective a little bit and see the reality more clearly, you will be much, 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 much happier. So happiness is in your hand. That's 100% sure. Now whether you want to make that effort or not, or whether you want to live your life as usual, running after everybody where everybody is running, then it's your choice. As I said yesterday, choice is yours. Then nobody can, even the Buddha is standing there or His Holiness Dalai Lama is standing there, nothing can be done. But if you make a little bit of effort, meaning, if you think a little bit, what is the meaning of human life? Is it just eating, sleeping, going to the toilet and things like that? Or a little bit more than that? I mean, in Christianity, human beings are said to be the crown of creation. In Buddhism, we refer to human life as the precious human life. And these days, His Holiness is talking so much about promoting human values. So in that connection, in Buddhist teaching, it says precious human life. Human life is, the value of human life cannot be calculated, very precious. But that value will not express itself unless you excavate it. It's almost like hiding within. It's laying latent, dormant. You need to express it. You need to discover it. Right? If you don't do that, then it's like, the poor beggar or poor man who in his house is a big treasure of gold and silver hidden under the floor, but he has no idea it is there. So he remains a beggar, he remains a poor person. The treasure is there. So likewise, the treasure is here with us. The capacity is there. The treasure basically means this human intelligence, which no other animals and birds have this kind of intelligence. So this intelligence, this most of the time almost like unexplored region of human intelligence. If you explore a little bit, and especially if you use this human intelligence in the right direction, in the positive direction, this human intelligence is like a nuclear energy. The potential is there. Now whether you use that nuclear energy for killing people or for producing electricity, again the choice is yours. So the same human intelligence can be very destructive, as has been done by Hitler, Mao Zedong, and countless people. And still today, so many people are there. On the other hand, the same intelligence can be used very constructively, like Mahatma Gandhi, Buddha, His Holiness Dalai Lama, or Martin Luther King, or whatever. So many people are there. Just one person can make such a huge difference in the life of thousands and millions of people. So the capacity is there. So it's a pity. It's really a pity if we are unable to appreciate that inner resource and excavate a little bit, express a little bit, use a little bit. If you are not able to use it, it's really the greatest loss in human life. Loss of money, yes, is sad, but not a big loss. Loss of feeling, if you lose that feeling for others, feeling of sense responsibility, feeling of caring others, there is a great loss. So therefore Shantideva was saying, wake up, you stupid, this is no time to sleep, wake up. Like a father, he actually scolds us a little bit by saying, you stupid, you're sleeping. Of course you will say, I'm not sleeping, I'm walking, going up, down, I did my PhD things. And he says, no, that is still walking. You're still sleeping. Because your mind is not attuned to understanding the reality, which will solve the problem. Because as we discussed, the source of suffering must be discovered. And what is the source of suffering? The source of suffering is negative emotions. There are countless negative emotions. Negative emotions are those emotions which, when arises in your mind, makes you disturbed, which destabilizes you, which makes you fragile, which makes you vulnerable. Negative emotions. So that's the definition. Negative emotions or afflictive emotions are those emotions which, when arises in your mind, disturbs your whole being, makes you agitated, turbulent, makes you unstable. Like for example, even when you get angry, are you stable? Your stability is lost when you are angry. You actually become vulnerable. You lose the sense of judgment. Your face becomes ugly. Heaven knows what comes out from your mouth without any judgment, you see. Your face becomes red. Your breathing becomes difficult. And because of anger, you can't even sleep properly. If you keep on thinking the wrongdoing of somebody, you won't get good sleep. You won't be able to digest food. This is how you lose your wealth, how you lose your health, how you lose your sleep. That's why you can clearly see the importance of developing positive emotion rather than the negative emotions. We all want to be strong, stable, sound. If you want that, then the Buddha is saying, if you want all these good things, then don't develop negative emotions, because that will make you vulnerable, weak, insecure. Similarly, take the example of attachment. If you have a strong obsession, attachment to somebody or something, you're almost like you're pulled into that direction. For example, if you're standing firmly on the ground with your 2 feet on the ground, stable, then suddenly you see a nice car, want to buy it, oh, I should have it, and you make a little bit move towards that car, you're already destabilized. You're pulled into the direction of that object of desire. And in fact, if you look at today's world, much of the suffering is a result of unchecked greed. Unchecked greed. It is greed, desire, that makes all of us running. Heaven knows what we are getting. We have polluted air, we have polluted water, natural resources are dwindling. These are not done by tigers and birds or other species. They're done by human beings, the so-called intelligent human beings. And this is not to say that you can't do many good things. That, in fact, when you see all this destructive side of human emotion, that makes you think more to use the constructive, positive side of your emotion and do something for the good of everybody, not just for oneself. So therefore, negative emotions must be eliminated. And if you want to remove these negative emotions, there are countless negative emotions. Okay? If there are many like small streams of water running, and if you want to stop this stream, it will be very laborious. But if you trace the source of all these small streams of river and stop that source, then all this will stop. So similarly, all these negative emotions, anger, jealousy, attachment, hatred, and countless other negative emotions, they have a source. The source is self-grasping. Self-grasping. Self-grasping, one, I'm using the word grasping. Second, I'm using the word self. But here when I use the word self, it is not just the ordinary, nominal, conventional self, but a self which you tend to see as having inherent, independent, absolute existence. When you see yourself as independent, absolute, permanent, unchanging, then there lies the whole problem there. When you see yourself as absolute, independent. And of course, while we are discussing, when I am saying things like that, you might say, who the hell is there who sees oneself independent, unchanging? Because right now you are doing a little bit thinking, you see. But ordinarily we don't do any thinking, or hardly do any thinking. So to our ordinary, unenlightened, unquestioning mind, we tend to see the I as inherently existing, independent, absolute. And that will become very clear. For example, if you start fighting with somebody and start changing nasty words, immediately you will flare up and say, who the hell are you saying these nasty things to me? To me, you see, who is existing from its own side. That's how people go to war. That's how people jump in front of a machine gun. Not realizing how fragile, how vulnerable you are. Still out of this ignorance, you think, even these machine guns will not be able to hurt me. You just jump, of course you will be thrown into pieces. So what I'm really trying to say is, source of all the problems, miseries are primarily misconception of reality. Misconception of reality. So therefore what I'm saying is, make effort. And that's not just me saying, it's what the Buddha was saying, or the Buddhist teachers were saying, and even other, like even scientists like Einstein, he was saying more or less the same thing. He uses the word optical illusion. You see. So there's illusion, you see. Reality and appearance. Reality, to understand and apprehend the reality, hardly anybody has any time. So that's why I intentionally did this. Number one, I had no other time. Secondly, yes, I can cancel this talk also, because today is kind of holiday, tomorrow is kind of holiday for all the staffs around, you know. But I said, okay, don't matter, doesn't matter. Who are interested, they'll come. Those who are not interested, let them go for their tuft of grass. Right? So we don't see what is really important in life and what is less important. Therefore, we are not able to get the bigger things. The same teacher, Shantideva, he says, Chungu cherna chimedong. That means for a small thing, don't sacrifice a big thing. And that's what we do all the time. For small things, for easier things, small things, childish things. We get engrossed with those small things and do not pay much attention to the bigger things, and therefore we don't get those bigger things. So you remain the same person, the same stupid person, as has been all the time. So therefore, let us make a move. That's what the Buddha is saying. Let us make a move. Let us fight the negative emotions. We should now say, in very strong terms, tell the negative emotions, enough is enough. Enough is enough. The time you fooled me, you cheated me, was when I have not studied, when I have not contemplated, when I have not meditated, when I was ignorant, when I was just going around like any other ordinary people. But now, because of the kindness of the teachers, the scriptures, and good friends, and things like that, I am able to develop a little bit of awakening, a little bit of insight. Now I know, you stupid anger, how destructive you are. Now I know how greed, how destructive you are. So you need to pinpoint all these destructive negative emotions, especially in your personal case for your practices. You need to highlight those negative emotions. Of course, we have, as I said, we have many countless negative emotions, but out of which, in your personal individual case, locate those negative emotions which has a predominant presence. If you are a more hot-tempered person, first deal with that, reduce that a little bit. And if you are able to reduce the intensity of these negative emotions a little bit, there cannot be a time to rejoice better than that one. That is called accomplishment. That is called attainment. Attainment is not opening a third eye here or being able to fly. You know, even if you are able to fly, so what? There's so many aeroplanes are flying now. so many birds are flying. Really? I mean, we do talk about, in Buddhist scriptures also, we do talk about developing all kind of clairvoyances, precognition, being able to fly, being able to sit naked in the snow mountain and melt the snow, things like that. These are all important feats. But the most important thing is transforming your mind, changing your attitude. That is actually miracle. Miracle is not performing something. Miracle means being able to do something which ordinarily difficult. So if you are able to reduce your anger a little bit, miracle. And when you are able to reduce your negative emotions like anger a little bit, you will be much, much relaxed, much, much happy. You will be less expensive. Now we don't know how to live our life. Let our life run wild with all the negative emotions. We also become very expensive. Trust me. So these days I'm compelled, because people are so much material oriented. So I'm also compelled to talk about the material benefit of spiritual and Buddhist practice. The material spiritual benefit of spiritual practice is like unthinkable. Like imagine, take the example of one country. If the whole population of the country doesn't drink, don't get intoxicated, don't steal, there's a kind of heaven on earth already. You see? And imagine how much money we'll be able to save. Nobody will be suffering from poverty and things like that. Now people are suffering because there's so much inequality. World's 3-4% of the world's population are rich, extremely rich. The rest struggling. So much inequality, dishonesty, corruption. So it's not so much that there is no enough material, natural resource. There is enough. As Mahatma Gandhi said, there is enough for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed. There will never be a time when you say, oh, now I had, unless you develop from yourself some kind of contentment. Just collecting the material things will not satisfy your need, you see. So therefore, what I'm saying now is, the source of all the problems is self-grasping. So therefore it is important to now ask the question, I've developed so much, I've done so much, worked so much, until I'm completely tired, until I'm at my deathbed, until to that point we work for oneself. I have to do this, I go there, Now tell me, where is this I for which you worked so hard? Without question, who is this boss? Your I is your boss, invisible boss. but probably so clever, I don't know. That I made you serve him or her for your whole life, from this point of view, for countless lives. You're unquestioningly kind of following the dictates of that self, because you have no idea who is this self. You took it for granted. There is a self existing permanently, continuously, very important. It must be looked after. But now you start asking the question, where is this self? Philosophers over like thousands of years. You look at the Western philosophy or Indian philosophy, they've asked this question but could not lay their hands upon the so-called self, which is independent, absolute, things like that. So the self is just a designation. So why you are developing so much obsession to just as a designation? Designation is there only to make it functional. not to concretize it. Functional. You have to have a name, I have to have a name, otherwise we will all get mixed up. So designation, just for that, differentiate who is who, what is what. Just that. And behind that designation, behind that label, if you try to pinpoint something existing independently, tell me if you are able to find it. The Buddha said he never found it. But even if we use our ordinary sense, tell me, where is this I? Now, like right now, you are looking at me, Geshe Lhakdor. And what you are seeing here is Geshe Lhakdor's body. Geshe Lhakdor's body is not Geshe Lhakdor. Geshe Lhakdor's mind is not Geshe Lhakdor. So where is Geshe Lhakdor? Just a designation. But one thing that we can deal with is, okay, I don't see Geshe Lhakdor, but I can see him, see his body. His mind also difficult to see, but his body I can see. And because we are able to perceive this body, therefore we serve this body. We fiddle with this body, clothe it, feed it, look after it, things like that. And in many cases you identify your body as the self, as yourself. Therefore he is talking about the need to do this meditation on the four very important point: the body, the feeling, the mind, and the rest of the phenomena. What is their real nature? Because you are suffering because of not knowing their real nature. So let us find out their real nature. That's what this four close setting of mindfulness is talking about. And what I read in the Tibetan text and what I read in Pali text, they're quite similar. In the Pali text regarding the four foundations of mindfulness, it says, Bodhi Pakhiya Sangahe Chataro Sati Padhana Kaya Anupasana Sati Padhana Vedana Anupasana Sati Padhana Chetana Anupasana Sati Padhana Dhamma Anupasana Sati Padhana. My pronunciation may be not good. But so I'm figuring out, because I know Hindi, so I can figure out it's exactly very similar to the words used in Tibetan. That means see the body, its real nature, go into it. See the feeling, its real nature, go into it. See the mind, go into it. See the phenomena, go into it. Find out their truth, their reality. So that is what is said here. So therefore, if I try to explain this a little bit based on Abhidharma Samuchaya, as we have used this quotation from Nagarjuna, from his letter to the friend, that humans are, in the true sense of the term, are not well. Number one. Number two, impermanent. Number three, impure. Selfless, right? But then he says, but those who do not maintain mindfulness on the reality of these four, they tend to see them in the opposite way. And that leads to their ruination, their destruction. That's the point, you see. If you are not able to see the reality as it is, then that leads to suffering, ruination, destruction. So therefore, the object of this mindfulness practice is four: body, feeling, mind, and phenomena. And why these four objects are chosen? These four objects are chosen because we very much relate to this four objects. For example, your body is impure. Now that's not to say you are bad. It's not equal to saying bad. It is really saying the reality. Your body is impure, but we see it pure. As I said yesterday, On the one hand, of course, you acknowledge that your body is not pure, that's why you wash yourself so much. It shows that you have idea, a little bit idea. But still, ordinarily you think, the arrogance comes in relation to your body, especially if you have a good body. Then pride, arrogance comes from there, So what is impure is pure. Now that's misconception. It's not only misconception, but if you see your impure body as pure, you are going to get into a big problem. Because, and we'll recount all those in accordance with the text, but if you see your body as pure, although impure, but you think it's very pure, from there comes arrogance. From there comes grasping. From there comes greed. From there comes looking down upon other people, you see. When people have good body, money, fame, many of them, they get proud and then they arrogant and then try to look down upon other people. So it's a source of countless problems. I'm not even able to say it, so I'm going to read the text to tell you about that, the problem. And the goodness is if you accept the reality. Like for example, impure, then why should I be so proud? Impure, I understand, that doesn't mean I'm bad. Good or bad is in terms of what you do, not in terms of what kind of physical features you have. There are people who are physically very handsome, very beautiful, but meanest person in the world, probably. So good and bad, the value is judged on what you do, not so much about how you look. Right? So again, just like we have this materialistic tendency, So again, in terms of your body also, body is a kind of material phenomena. So you are always glorifying that material phenomena, which is represented by your body, and completely discarding and ignoring the mental phenomena. So there's this big divide between spirituality and materiality. And what is said in Buddhism and in many other philosophies and religions is, let us not divide the spiritual realm and material realm. Let us unite them. They are connected. In the case of one person, the body and the mind are related to each other, interconnected. The body cannot function without the mind. The mind also, as a kind of medium of expression, it needs the body. So they are connected. So it's completely like wrong to take care of only the material, physical body and ignore the mental, which in fact is the most important one. So therefore, many Buddhist teachers, they say, when it comes to doing spiritual practice, we need a kind of revolution. And most of us go after the dictates of the body because it's a tangible thing. We can see it. But the mental, the spiritual realm, we don't directly see it. Therefore, we ignore it. And much of the problem we see today in the world is a clear sign of inner poverty. Inner poverty, not material poverty. And people have written about it, not just Buddhism. People who are thinking today, great writers, they have written. Much of the problems we see is not so much about material poverty, but mental poverty. Because we are living in a world where the relations are breaking, We don't know how to live harmoniously. And of late, unfortunately, we should be growing, but of late, even nationalism is now growing. Many countries, their leaders are promoting nationalism. Unfortunate, really. So therefore, it's important to think about what unites us than what divides us. So you need to meditate on this, because as an ordinary person, you see the impure body as pure. You see the feeling with suffering as happiness. Feeling, at the level of the feeling, there's so much suffering, so much problem, so much difficulty. But we normally say, yes, I'm okay. I'm okay. And the only good thing or good news is, take the example of cows, It's not that they don't suffer, but they are not very sensitive. They are ignorant. They are numb. So therefore they will not express it, whether they are happy or suffering, they're always moving like this. They're very insensitive. Similarly, many people are becoming very insensitive. They are used with that ordinary, unenlightened way of life, so much so that they become a little bit insensitive. So therefore, even in difficult situations, they might say, I'm okay, you see. You're not okay. You think you're okay, but you're not okay. That's what the Buddha is saying. Therefore, the Buddha is saying, wake up. I cited this quotation from Shantideva saying, wake up. You're not okay. And in Tibetan, there's a saying which says, it's not a good idea to make friendship with okay. Aus is the Tokuma Yorwa. Don't make friendship with okay. You see? So therefore, and then the mind impermanent, but we tend to see it as permanent. And in the case of the phenomena, they are selfless, but we tend to see it as having self. So in order to refute and to stop these misconceptions, we need to meditate on these four objects and their actual reality. Clear? And in terms of the nature of this setting mindfulness closely, these four mindfulness, they are basically, we use the word mindfulness, but basically it is wisdom. It's a wisdom that sees the body impure, that sees the body impermanent, and so forth. Meditation on mindfulness is also important, because there was another quotation which I didn't bring from Abhidharma, where it says, when it comes to eradicating, completely removing, the complete removal of the negative emotions, wisdom is a must. We discussed already two kinds of meditation. One-pointed meditation, analytical meditation. One-pointed meditation or calm abiding meditation is useful to suppress the manifestation, obvious manifestation of negative emotions. It's good, but it is not the antidote to remove the root cause of the negative emotions. So therefore in this quotation from Abhidharma it says, when you have meditated on calm abiding, then meditate on mindfulness to remove the root cause of afflictive emotions. There is a story which is recounted in Kamalashila's Stages of Meditation, that there was a sage, Indian sage, called Udrak. He was highly actualized meditator on single-pointed meditation, calm abiding meditation. So much so it is said that he will remain himself oblivious of his sitting there for days on end. And the story says that he just so much into that meditation, one-pointed meditation, he completely gets lost into it for many days or so forth. And his hair grows down all the way to the floor. And the rats moving in that cave bites off the ends of his hair, but still he is oblivious. So much lost into. Because there's a kind of ecstasy, there's a kind of happiness when you sit in that one-pointed meditation, because you go within. This is basically a good indication. Because the real happiness comes when you reflect within yourself, not outside. The real calmness, you sit just for a few minutes, going within. The happiness, calmness, the peace that you enjoy cannot be matched by anything else. So some of these great meditators, they get completely. There are stories of some of these meditators who stays for such a long time that somebody has to come and say, this is not the final achievement, please get up, you need to do something else. There are stories like that. So this meditator, it is said that he was so much lost in his meditation that his hairs grew long, flowing down to the floor, still oblivious. The rats bites off the ends of his hair, still oblivious. And then as and when he gets up from that one-pointed meditation and sees that the ends of his hairs has been chopped off by the rats, he gets mad. Meaning that one-pointed meditation is not the ultimate antidote in removing the root of negative emotions. Anger comes back. So therefore, mindfulness meditation is basically wisdom. Wisdom that is opposite to the misconceptions of reality. So therefore, you need to see what is impure as pure. That's wrong. So you need to see what is impure as impure, what is impermanent as impermanent, what is selfless as selfless, so forth. Seeing the reality as it is. Because when it comes to removing the root cause of these negative emotions, it's not like removing a thorn which has pricked your hand and giving you a lot of pain. It's not like you take away that thorn and then you're relieved. When we talk about removing the root cause of negative emotion, it's not like removing a thorn from your hand. It's really like seeing the way things are. Seeing the way things are, seeing the reality is the antidote to that misconception of reality. Based on that, then you are able to cultivate so many other positive emotions. How? Because the misconception of reality, that ignorant mind sees things as having inherent, independent, objective existence, right? I'm independent, I have nothing to do with the rest of the people. I can manage myself. That's what we normally think, you see, when that is not the case. That's not true. But the wisdom that is opposite to the misconception of reality says, you're fragile, you're interconnected, you're related. Now you can easily establish the relationship, you see. There is a flexibility. When you see everything as concrete, tangible, it's uptight. There's no flexibility. There's not much room for talking about relationship, be it causific relationship or be it the human relationship. There's no room for that. But when you talk about a wisdom that sees interconnected reality, then that is giving you the good news that because of this interconnected reality, we should be good to other people, you are related to others. The experience that you have are related to causes and conditions. So if you don't want suffering, find out the causes and conditions of suffering. You can remove it. If you want happiness, find out the causes. You can have those happiness and peace. Therefore, Nagarjuna says, to whom emptiness is possible, everything is possible. To whom emptiness is not possible, nothing is possible. Emptiness means interconnected reality. When interconnected reality is possible, everything is possible. The scientific inventions, new ideas, new thoughts, All this is possible because of interconnected reality. You mix different things, you can create different things, you can, come up with different relationships and so forth. Everything is possible. If emptiness is not possible, that means if interconnected reality is not the truth of the matter, then nothing can be done. You are who you are, I am who I am, nothing can be done. If I exist independently from my own side, then why do I have to depend on a cause and condition? Nothing can be done. It's good, bad, nothing can be done. So therefore this interconnected reality is the basis of the thought, the main idea. When we talk about removing all these negative emotions or caring about the needs of sentient beings. So therefore mindfulness that we are talking about here is basically wisdom. Okay? Now with regard to the meditation on mindfulness, it can be a meditation on the individual characteristics of each of these four objects, or it can be meditation for the general features. General feature means body is impermanent, feeling is impermanent, mind is impermanent. Similarly, within phenomena also there are many mental events and other experiences which are impermanent. So these are general features. But there may be individual features, like when we talk about the impurity of the body. There may be an impurity in the body which is a unique feature of the body. Right? So let us read a little bit about, you can just listen to this, I'll read it, The four establishments of mindfulness. Oh, time is gone. So we'll do the reading tomorrow then, okay? You have one or two questions? Any questions? No questions? So I'll tell you a takeaway. Takeaway means don't get discouraged when we talk about the impurity of the body and, the feeling is suffering, Many people, when they don't get the precise, in-depth understanding of the Buddhist teaching, then they tend to think Buddhism is pessimistic. Buddhism is not pessimistic, Buddhism is realistic. Realistic, as I said yesterday, the bitter truth must be told. If you want to improve, if you want to make real development, then the bitter truth must be told. So to make a long story short, the Buddha is basically saying, understand the way things are. Don't pretend. I can pretend I will never die. Death, why? Interestingly, I met people who don't want to talk about death, who don't want to listen about death. I remember that very well when several years back when I was giving a talk in Kentucky, Thomas Merton Monastery. I can never forget this young lady sitting in front when I was talking about this Four Noble Truths and so forth. She said, why are you talking so much about suffering? I have no suffering. I said, good luck. Really? You see? And the Buddhist teaching says, ignorance is suffering. For example, if cracks are developing on this ceiling and on the walls, and when it's about to collapse, but still if you say, no, it will not come down today. That's what we do actually. Because people think it will not happen, and it happens. See? So it's better that much in advance you accept that, you understand the reality. Because there is a way to get out of that risk, that danger. So therefore, the takeaway is that if you accept the reality honestly, then you don't have to lead a life of duplicity, saying one thing, doing another thing. You are what you are now. When you don't have to present yourself as a different person than who you are, there is no pretension. When there is no pretension, there is no sense of guilt, nothing to hide. When there is nothing to hide, completely satisfied, contented. That inner state of satisfaction, having nothing to hide, is called real happiness. But if you play many roles, doing something here, doing something there, then your conscience knows who you are. So there is no genuine happiness and satisfaction. So therefore, as we'll read tomorrow in detail, what's the benefit of such meditation? As I briefly mentioned yesterday, it's almost like giving you a hint. For example, if you are suffering, I'm suffering, why should we create more suffering? That's the benefit, you see. If you are able to see clearly that others are suffering, I am suffering, why should I create more suffering, even if I am unable to help? You see. If you think that she is perfect, I am perfect, why should I bother about her or bother about me, you see. So all these negative emotions will be reduced when you see the reality. It's very interesting phenomena. You can do some research on it. It really looks like when you see the reality. Reality means, it's very interesting. I don't know much, but I've started thinking about it. Of course, I read some texts on Buddhism and some other things. But if you look at nature, in nature there is a harmony. Don't you think so? In nature is there harmony. Whether it's made by God or it's the way things are. In Buddhism we don't believe in a God. It's nature. But anyway, if you look at it, there is a harmony. And not only that, things grow and flourish when there is harmony. This law of nature. Not only in the case of human beings. Look at the tree. It will grow and flourish when there is harmony of the elements within it. When they needed water, needed like soil or warmth, whatever. If all these things are harmonious, it will grow and flourish and flower. Right? When there's no harmony, it will fall, it will crumble. It's an example, you see. Now scientists have done this experiment with water even. Just put like 2 jugs of water, and to 1 jug of water you say all the nasty things that you can think about. Another say all the good things you think about, and then, I don't know, through some instrument, when they looked at the one which you treated nicely, really develops a beautiful, symmetric kind of mandala kind of thing. Other like disfigured kind of squiggly lines and things like that. So we are talking about law of nature. Then also we are talking about how you can get more happiness and peace through right mental attitude. That's what the Buddhist teachings are saying. Now I've started reading some science books, easily layman science book. Then it says what kind of chemicals will be produced, reactions will be produced, is dependent on your thinking. Even the same food that you taste, right from the beginning, before you taste, if your mind says, I don't like this, already a chemical reaction is produced. because of which you will not be able to taste it nicely. So that's what I mean. This is not just saying the mind can create anything, you see. And look at marriage, Some people think, oh, this woman is so beautiful, I marry her. This is his mental state. Not necessarily that is the case with everybody. See how your mind makes it, you see. You're happy with that, you see. So therefore, mind is the precursor of everything. Mind is your boss. So in Buddhism, what we are basically saying is mind is your boss, and it is obvious to all of us, the boss must be good. So that's why when we talk about Buddhist practice, we are talking about choosing a good boss, electing a good boss. If the mind, your boss, is predominantly negative, destructive, it's bad. You must dethrone that boss and elect another boss which is more compassionate, more loving, with more wisdom. That's the Buddhist process of practice. Dethrone the destructive, negative boss and enthrone the positive boss. Thank you. Good night.